Mr. Jomunyika is interpreting the bulletin in sign language, and later on we will be joined by Tariro and Tanaka from our Pocket Hill studios in Harare for more news. But first, let's take a look at the headlines. The 21st ZANU PF National People's Conference ends in Bulawayo with the party's first secretary and president, Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, reminding members to follow the constitution. In business, Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe injects 50 million United States dollars in the foreign exchange market. And later on in sports news, Zimbabwe Warriors take on Eswatini in the African Nations Championship qualifier this Sunday. Those are your headlines for tonight. Let's take a look at our first story. ZANU PF First Secretary and President, Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, has directed the nation's attention towards afforestation to tackle the impact of climate change. He was speaking after leading a tree planting initiative on the sidelines of the 21st ZANU PF National People's Conference in Bulawayo.
As per tradition, ZANU PF President and First Secretary Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, accompanied by the Secretary for Environment and Tourism in the Politburo, Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa, led a tree planting initiative on the sidelines of the 21st National People's Conference in Bulawayo this Saturday. President Mnangagwa said afforestation is one of the priority areas as the country adopts strategies to promote sustainable practices for combating climate change.
Miti upenyu unoziva kuti mweya watinofema uyu unobva kumiti kumashizha upenyu. Saka kuzvara kwatichita miti iyi kutoratidza kuvana vedu kuti chengetedzai miti upenyu hunobatsira upenyu hwevanhu. Panapa makore anotevera pane patova nemiti pane mimvuri vanenge vachizogara pano vakomana vasikana vachitaura chirungu vasingazivi kuti makore akare kamudhara kainzi Mnangagwa namai vacho vainzi mai Mnangagwa ndo vakadzvara miti yacho vachipana zvimatsamba vagere pasi pemiti.
The First Lady, Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa, emphasized that the battle against climate change requires collaboration between the public and private sectors.
Nasi zwarangu kunyanya ini sapatron we-environment kuti nyika yose nasi yaona kuti aiwa tatungamira kudzvarwa kwemiti kuzvotatarisana nekumwaka wokunaya mvura ndichiti ngatigadzirire tinodzvara miti kwandinofamba miti yese yapera. Hatichatarisa kudzvara pepamba pako paunogara patakutopinda mumasango nokuti matemo ari kupinda kumasango. Dai varo vanhu vaziva kuti miti upenyu hwemunhu wese chiro chazvagwa nhasi neanozvagwa mangwana upenyu hwake huri mumiti imomo. Ndinokoshesa nokuvimbisa kuti nyika yedu iko zvino kana voona ndanzwa kuti amai vabuda kwakati aiwa ndokumbira kuti munditevere tunogadzira upenyu hwavanhu.
Vice President General Retired Dr. Constantino Chiwenga and Comrade Kembo Mohadi also participated in the tree planting exercise. From the tree planting, the president toured stands at the Zimbabwe International Exhibition Center, where various institutions showcased their wares.
Each year, you discover that our people become more and more innovative. More and more new products come onto the stage, which means that we continue to have new ideas and translating these ideas into products and services. And this is what it ought to be. I'm so happy that our people are very innovative.
The ZANU PF President and First Secretary stressed the importance of supporting small to medium enterprises, dovetailing with the national vision of an upper middle income society. Olin Ndore, ZBC News, Bulawayo.
Meanwhile, exhibitors at the just-ended ZANU PF National People's Conference are ready and committed to working towards the country's economic development.
The Zimbabwe International Trade Fair provided brisk business for exhibitors who participated at the ruling party's annual conference. The exhibitors expressed commitment to participating in the country's development trajectory.
According to the NDS1, we are working towards training people as first aiders under the Presidential Emergency Medical Scheme. When we train youth to be first aiders, it means that they know what to do in terms of emergency or an accident happens or someone falls sick at home. So that we have a Zimbabwe that is health-free and everybody can have access to free medical health.
We are implementing an emergency water supply project throughout the country, nationwide. Is a measure to mitigate against diseases, waterborne diseases, and also there is lack of water, clean drinking water. So this project comes in as an initiative that is to counter the dire need for water throughout the country.
As Zimbabwe, we are contributing to this excellent vision by our president in terms of ensuring that we provide the necessary socio-economic development through provision of safe and efficient air transportation systems.
The innovative ideas feed into the theme of the conference, industrialize and modernize towards the attainment of Vision 2030.
Environmental experts attending the 16th Conference of Parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity in Colombia have highlighted the urgent need to implement climate-resilient conservation strategies to protect wildlife.
As the world grapples with the escalating impact of climate change, the delicate balance of biodiversity and wildlife conservation hangs in the balance. A key issue tabled for discussion at COP16 is the impact of climate change on the elephant population and their habitats. Experts raised the red flag on the twin challenges of extreme temperatures and erratic rainfall patterns.
60% of our population in Zimbabwe that live on the countryside, they can relate to what it means to live in harmony with nature. But there are costs and also liabilities. And some of these costs and liabilities and challenges are exacerbated by the increased variability in weather patterns and also climate-induced calamities. At this COP, it's also one of the headliners that we are advancing to say we need to explore and promote nature-based solutions that are sustainable.
Experts have come up with an innovative way of addressing the challenges of climate change and human-wildlife conflict, dubbed the Room to Roam Initiative. The initiative is championed by the International Fund for Animal Welfare, IFAO, and is meant to create larger, more connected wildlife corridors, enabling animals to migrate freely and adapt to changing environmental conditions. The ongoing COP16 is another pivotal pedestal for experts to push for climate financing that will support the protection of wildlife as well as communities living adjacent to national parks.
We need to continue to push the fact that biodiversity conservation and in particular wild animals are key unsung heroes for climate action. And then secondly, we really want to continue to urge the Rio Conventions to have better coordination and synergies because the resources required to address this crisis are key. And IFO is saying, let's be efficient, let's rally the private sector to put more money because there's a huge funding gap that won't allow us to achieve the goals.
The private sector has pledged to raise $200 billion US for nature conservation, but experts attending the COP16 are pushing for accountability to ensure progress.
The Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe has injected a further $50 million US towards supporting the stability of the Zimbabwe gold currency.
In an update by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe Governor, Dr. John Mshayawano said that the injection of $50 million US on the foreign exchange market has been necessitated by the traditional increased demand for foreign currency in the third quarter. The central bank chief announced that requirements for the summer agricultural season and the festive period normally lead to increase the demand for hard currency. In that perspective, the central bank explained that Zimbabwe has in the past few weeks witnessed an increase in the willing buyer, willing seller foreign exchange market activities. It notes that the move is as a result of holders of foreign exchange, including exporters that have been selling their foreign currency in exchange for ZiG to fund their tax obligations. With the end of the tobacco selling season, monetary authorities state that they have witnessed a slowdown in the supply of foreign exchange in the market and an increase in demand. Meanwhile, the central bank has reaffirmed a commitment to a tighter monetary policy and ensuring that the reserve money is fully backed at all times. Stanley James, ZBC News, Harare.
Now on to our leading story. ZANU PF First Secretary and President Comrade Emmerson Mnangagwa says that the ruling party is an institution of order that stands guided by its constitution. In his closing remarks at the 21st ZANU PF National People's Conference in Bulawayo this Saturday, Comrade Mnangagwa said all party members should follow rules and laid down procedures. Sifiso Sbanda has that report.
As the curtain came down at the ZANU PF 21st National People's Conference in Bulawayo, the party's first secretary and president, Comrade Emmerson Mnangagwa, reminded members to remain united and follow the party's constitution as they navigate the political terrain.
We emerge from this conference, in my belief, more united, renewed, recharged, and full of vigor for the work that lies ahead. Therefore, every cadre of the party, from the cell to the national level, has a revolutionary duty to recommit to the strategic vision of our revolutionary party, ZANU PF. As leaders of the various party structures, we must provide the requisite leadership and demonstrate loyalty to the party. We must maintain the highest degree of unity in thought, in practice, and action, as well as political stance, is the responsibility of us all as members of the Revolutionary Party ZANU PF. We must lead by example and act in line with the overall interests of the party and our country when performing our duties.
Comrade Mnangagwa also stressed the need to implement resolutions of the conference, saying they are the guiding compass of the party and government.
ZANU PF is the party of liberation and the party of the future. We are a colossal mass revolutionary party, and our resolutions, policies and directives affect our society and impact all sectors of the economy. Guided by our sector-specific directives issued by this conference, the concerns of our communities must be comprehensively addressed. No one and no place must be left behind. Our purposes must continue to be intricately linked to the progress and economic rejuvenation of our great motherland, Zimbabwe. We, the current
crop of cadres have an obligation to ensure that ZANU PF remains the driving force for peaceful development and to build our economy at an accelerated pace.
The president said high-impact social development progress must be recorded going forward.
Constructive and program-based grassroots engagements and mobilization across all party structures will be key in delivering the desired results. No village, no ward or district can be developed by a bickering and divided people. Unity, 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 peace and harmony are essential codes to amplify the growth and prosperity our country seeks and deserves. Every department of the party, across all the wings of the party, must study and distill the various aspects into programs and activities which respond to our unique local situations, challenges, and opportunities. The party structures at the grassroots level should accordingly receive outcomes of this conference and translate these at community level.
He also commended the clarity of purpose, unity, and cordial environment that characterized the conference, saying it has shamed detractors and dispelled the misinformation that was spreading to alarming levels.
ZANU PF is a party of rules and a party of order. Matare umsangano we-ZANU PF akajeka. Hakuna mazake. So, the whole party and the party membership should entrench this fundamental character and the trait of our revolutionary ZANU party. As the curtain comes down at this historic conference, let us introspect and examine ourselves. Pauri papo, zvibvunze kuti uri munhu akavimbika kumusangano here pachako. Lapo ukona uziuze ukuthi wete utembekile yini emhlanganeni. Iqotho angazi. Each of us should never consider ourselves more important than the party. Individually, we must ask ourselves if we are loyal. Are we honest with the party? Are we consistent with the party? Are we persistent with the party? And whether we will persevere with the party. These are the traits of a revolutionary cadre of ZANU PF. Always strive to attain these traits. If you fail any one of them, one day, those that perpetrate acts of indiscipline, some of which now extend acts of criminality, are dearly warned. The party demands that we respect each other. Respect your seniors and your peers. Palefrieni papo kudzanai. Equally, respect those below you. and the leaders above you. A good leader must be a good follower. Individually, we are a core in a much bigger ecosystem.
The president also called on the entire nation to work hard in attaining the vision of an upper middle income society by 2030. Sifiso Spanda, ZBC News, Bulawayo.
After much deliberations, the 21st ZANU PF National People's Conference has made resolutions, with the major proposal being the extension of President Emmerson Mnangagwa's tenure beyond 2028.
ZANU PF delegates converged in Bulawayo for the 21st National People's Conference amid high anticipation of discussions that will promote the country's developmental agenda and improve the quality of livelihoods for the citizenry. The resolutions were many, but the highlight was the proposal by provincial and thematic committees to extend the President and First Secretary of the party, Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa's tenure beyond 2028.
I will read the resolution which all provinces passed and which was also supported by the thematic committees which sat yesterday and today. And this resolution appears in all the thematic committees that the President and First Secretary of ZANU PF, His Excellency Comrade Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa's term of office as President of the Republic of Zimbabwe and First Secretary of ZANU PF be extended beyond 2028 to 2030.
It took a moment to cajole the delegates back into silence before Comrade Chinamasa proceeded to further advise that the President, through the party's legal secretary, has maintained that he does not intend to go past the constitutional term nor violate a constitution he assisted to author.
However, our department was being asked the question, is it legally possible? And the short answer I gave was that yes, it's legally possible. But to achieve it, we will need two separate constitutional amendments. One amendment to remove the presidential term that is fixed in the Constitution. The next amendment, constitutional amendment, should be to remove the disability that the Constitution places on His Excellency to serve beyond 2028. His Excellency is saying, I'm a constitutionalist. I will abide by the Constitution, which limits presidential terms, and I have no intention of serving beyond 2028. So where we stand, distinguished delegates, is that of all the resolutions, there is one resolution which cannot be implemented without the express consent and agreement of His Excellency President Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa.
Comrade Chinamasa outlined several other resolutions that are critical to addressing national development, strengthen governance, and improve the livelihoods of the general populace.
Curb money laundering, speculation, and arbitrage on the parallel market, including the criminalization of the activities of economic saboteurs, errand manufacturers, retailers, and other service providers, as well as prescribing deterrent penalties. Synchronize, harmonize, and coordinate all fiscal and monetary policies in order to stabilize the economy.
He further presented a resolve to foster digitalization and encourage the country's media presence towards nation building.
That the party establishes information desks at each district coordinating committee. That the party should expedite the digitalization official village registers to ensure credible party voters' rolls during party elections so as to minimize election-related disputes, to improve radio and television reception in underserviced areas.
The resolutions of the 21st National People's Conference go a long way in reaffirming the ruling party's position towards transforming lives in pursuit of Vision 2030. Grace Sibanda, ZBC News, Bulawayo.
For more news, you can log on to our website, zbcnews.co.zw. You can also visit our X handle at ZBC News Online. Our Facebook page is ZBC News Online, as well as our YouTube channel, which is ZBC News Online. Now, stories are still to come in this bulletin. In sports, Zimbabwe Warriors are off to Botswana for the African Nations Championship qualifier against Eswatini this Sunday. News at 8 is off to a break. We will be right back. Surgeries conducted in Mutare this Friday have given hope to the elderly who had no fallback plan.
The joy of restored sight is the story of 69-year-old Gogo Irene Sagonda. Gift of sight is priceless, in the words of Gogo Sofia Chitaka from Zimunya area, who stays alone at her rural home. Gogo Chitaka and Gogo Sagonda are among 100 beneficiaries of a free eye cataract surgery conducted by the Eye Institute in Mutare this Friday. Founder of the Eye Institute, Dr. Roni Mija, is self-assured on what needs to be done.
Over the past couple of years, we have gone for campaigns where we're offering, obviously, awareness, screening. One of it is in Mutasa, there at an area called Kuta. We were multidisciplinary, all the other professionals were there. And what we discovered is that most of the time, a majority of the patients would need cataract surgery, but that which they never used to be able to access. So we'll go the next year and find that it's still the same patients who are still coming for the same problem. So then we decided that why don't we look for partners who can then sponsor these patients for surgery. As you know, that any surgery is not cheap. And that's why now we are partnering with Old Mutual as a pilot to see whether if it works in Manicaland, we can then roll it out into the other provinces.
The Zimbabwe National Eye Health Strategy of 2014 to 2018 identified cataracts, glaucoma, eye trauma, measles, and retinoblastoma as leading causes of loss of sight. Kenya's Chivuje, ZBC News, Mutare.
Masvingo province is placing strong emphasis on the production of traditional grains in areas such as Chivi, Mwenezi, and Chiredzi to counter the effects of climate change this summer cropping season.
Looking ahead with optimism for better yields this year, smallholder farmers in Masvingo province received inputs under the Fumvudza Intrasa program this week.
Mbeu yatapuwa ya mafunde yakanakisisa inopa upenyu nenyaya yokuti haingotsi mahara.
Mbeu yatapuwa nhasi inova mbeu yemhunga, ndio mbeu inokohwewa muno nokuti nzvimbo ine mvura shoma. Saka inoda kubetserwa nembeu idzodzi, uyezve mbeu iyi haisi mbeu inoda kuti iuye nguva yafamba. Inoda kuuya senguva iyo torima iri pfumvudza.
Kuchera makomba zvodotibetsera kuti tiwane chikafu chokuti mhuri dzedu dzirarame nesu tiwane chikafu chokudya.
As preparations for the summer cropping season begin, government is prioritizing traditional grains to build resilience among farmers.
Mvura yedu zhinji ichange iri yemadiridziro mumatunhu ose atinenge tiri muno muprovince. Uyezve tichisimudzira kuti tirime zvirimwa zvinoresista drought kana ichinge yauya towana kukohwa tisazofa nenzara.
The purpose of that center you see there is to train our people to become productive even in an unfriendly climatic area. So saka muchiona tiri kumhanya sezvizvi toita kuti tidzidzise vana vedu navabereki kuti torarama sei munzvimbo yakaoma.
Chirongwa cheminda makomba andakaita 16 zvinosanganisira mbeu dzetsangadiki. Mbeu dzetsangadiki idzi mudunhu machivi sezvo musingakowani mvura yakanyanya kuwanda.
Masvingo province is targeting 1 million plots under the Pfumvudza Intrasa program, with close to 330,000 households set to be supported under the initiative. May Smatna, ZBC News, Chivi.
We now take you to Pocketsville Studios in Harare, where Tariro and Tanaka are on standby with more news. Good evening, ladies.
Well, good evening, Marilyn, and thank you for taking us through the first part of the bulletin. Now, still in agricultural matters, village business units are helping transform the livelihoods of women in Marondera after an impressive yield of horticultural products and successful dairy at Rakata Agricultural Hub. We get more on that story from Gerald Sasa.
It is a thriving business venture where the 40-member group has moved into value addition to derive maximum value from their tomato crop.
Upenyu hwedu hwavandudzika nokuti kuri takuwanawo mari dzekuendesawo vana kuchikoro uye tikarimawo madomasi hatichaswera takagara takuwana zvekuita.
Iko zvinezvi tiri kurimawo masunflower tokwanisa kusvina mafuta towana tikatengesa mafuta edu takuwanawo mari dzekuriritira mhuri dzedu.
The village business unit also impressed guests who toured the project.
Since the start of this project, we have really seen so much progress, and we're really looking forward to see more successes and more positive results.
Kana anamai vawana mari, tinoona kuti mafamily anenge akugara zvakanaka, vana vakuenda kuchikoro, mumba muine chikafu, tabvisa nzara, tabvisa nhamo.
Project tiri kuona kuti yasimudzira vanhu vekumusha and iri kufamba iri mumuono we-Second Republic. President vakataura kuti ngaticreate village business units. So this is one of the testimony of the policy, of the principle, of the concept, the women.
Village business units are part of a holistic government program to support rural industrialization. At least 35,000 village business units will be established by next year. Gerald Sasa, ZBC News, Marondera.
And now to Mashonaland West, where traditional leaders have united in denouncing the illegal embargo imposed on Zimbabwe by the United States and its Western allies. We get more from Tamuka Charakupa.
The charity initiative, spearheaded by spouses of diplomats attached to Zimbabwe, has pledged commitment to work with government on various programs targeting to uplift livelihoods of vulnerable communities. President of the Diplomatic Spouses Association, Mrs. Nadia Basi, highlighted that the proceeds of the event would go to charity.
This is a very unique kind of a platform that has been provided by the Diplomatic Spouses Association to bring the diplomatic community and all the embassies here in Harare with the local businesses from Zimbabwe and introducing the crafts and traditions of Zimbabwe that the DSA is following, and all the proceeds from the DSA are going to our charities.
Today is a very important day for us, especially as Mozambican and Zimbabwe. We are like home, not like we are home in Zimbabwe. So Southern Africa is really great day today to come together.
This diplomatic spouses bazaar is significant for fostering connections between diplomatic spouses and promoting cultural understanding. Farai Gwaze, ZBC News, Harare.
Now, that is the story where government's social safety programs have courted interest from Diplomatic Spouses Association after the organization raised funds to support vulnerable communities during an event held in Harare this Saturday. Now we take a look at the construction industry, where the construction industry's growth has triggered a significant surge in demand for raw materials, prompting a Bindura-based aggregate producer to scale up production.
Bindura-based aggregate producer Fullers has taken heed of government's call to support infrastructure development under the National Development Strategy 1 and DS1 through ramping up production of essential raw materials. Currently producing 9,000 cubic meters of aggregates monthly, Fullers is set to double output with the acquisition of a new 3-deck vibrator plant.
We envision ourselves as a one-stop shop where all the construction products are going to be found under one roof. We are doing this so that we'll be able to meet the demand from all the government institutions, local authorities, private companies, and individuals. We are noticing that the prevailing construction boom that is pertaining in the country, we need to up our game.
The quarry and complementary brick manufacturing plant also generates employment for Bindura urban and Matepa-Tepa communities.
Plant yedu ndingangoti iri kubatsira zvakanyanya panyaya ye-employment creation. We've noticed that we've increased our production and we've managed to employ more people.
The ongoing construction of roads and devolution projects has injected momentum into the aggregates production sector, fostering valuable partnerships with key stakeholders including local schools and the Bindura municipality. Tapiwa Machemedze, ZBC News, Bindura.
On that note, we take a break, but when we come back, we'll give you the business news. Stay tuned. Has made resolutions, with a major proposal being the extension of President Emmerson Mnangagwa's tenure beyond 2028. More details in the following report.
ZANU PF delegates converged in Bulawayo for the 21st National People's Conference amid high anticipation of discussions that will promote the country's developmental agenda and improve the quality of livelihoods for the citizenry. The resolutions were many, but the highlight was the proposal by provincial and thematic committees to extend the President and First Secretary of the party, Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa's tenure beyond 2028. Comrade Chinamasa outlined several other resolutions that are critical to addressing national development, strengthen governance, and improve the livelihoods of the general populace.
Curb money laundering, speculation, and arbitrage on the parallel market, including the criminalization of the activities of economic saboteurs, errand manufacturers, retailers, and other service providers, as well as prescribing deterrent penalties. Synchronize, harmonize, and coordinate all fiscal and monetary policies in order to stabilize the economy.
He further presented a resolve to foster digitalization and encourage the country's media presence towards nation building.
That the party establishes information desks at each district coordinating committee. That the party should expedite the digitalization of its cell village registers to ensure credible party voters' rolls during party elections so as to minimize election-related disputes, to improve radio and television reception in under-serviced areas.
The resolutions of the 21st National People's Conference go a long way in reaffirming the ruling party's position towards transforming lives in pursuit of Vision 2030. Grace Sibanda, ZBC News, Bulawayo.
Now we take a look at business news. Zimbabwe's National Employment Councils are aligning their goals with the objectives of the National Development Strategy 1 by focusing on productivity.
The 2024 National Employment Council's NEC Awards held this Friday created a platform for workers' representatives in key productive sectors.
Transformation is opening opportunities for local companies, transforming how business is conducted and improving the service delivery.
The business community is embracing latest technologies which have improved the service delivery in a number of sectors, including financial services, education and amenities, among others. This emerged at the Service Excellence Awards organized by the Customer Experience Association of Zimbabwe in Harare this Friday. Guest of honor and Harare Mayor, Councillor Jacob Mafume, canvassed the private sector support towards technology advancement.
What we need to do is to recognize that in this digital age, we should be able to give people services on the go. We should be able to create an interactive city, a city that is able to communicate with its citizens.
The organizers are convinced that there is need for enhanced collaboration between public and private sector players.
The awards are appreciating that customer experience is no longer the future. It is the bedrock of any economy, and for us to be competitive globally, the borders are open, and with the advent of technologies, obviously we are going to be distinguished with by how we service our customers.
Winners acknowledged the benefits of digital transformation.
This is an award that we really appreciate, especially in this era where technology is taking over. There's that human touch that might be lacking in what organizations are standing for when it comes to customer experience.
We are quite happy to see that there's recognition of the results of what we wanted to implement to make sure that we come out customer-centric.
Firms from the banking, education, manufacturing and energy sectors were honored for their outstanding work. John Nandara, ZBC News, Harare.
And that story wrapping up business news for tonight. Now, looking at the arts, it was a night to remember for the people of Ezigodini in Umzingwane district, where thousands gathered for the Anti-sanctions gala with various artists delivering top-notch performances.
It was pomp and fanfare as thousands gathered at the Habani Stadium in Ezigodini for this year's Anti-sanctions gala. A music concert organized by the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, the gala lived up to its billing with various artists delivering top-notch performances. The Anti-sanctions gala was a solidarity platform for Zimbabweans to unite under one banner in calling for the lifting of the illegal sanctions.
Sifuna ukuqotha ama-sanction aseza abantu abethu besiyafe negoli ngenxa yama-sanction noma befundile.
Siyathaba ukuthi ilokishi lethu livakatshelwe ngabantu esibaqakathekisayo like iYasa ngoba idlala kathesi.
The local leadership said the gala was an opportunity for the citizenry to express their concern.
Lokhu ukuthi sikhumbuzane ukuthi ilizwe lethu leZimbabwe liphathi kobunzima kwezijezo lezama-sanction ezafakwayo amazwe e-West. Lokhu kuyasincedisa ukuthi abantu bekuzwisise ukuthi okwenzakala elizweni. Okunye ubukhokheli bethu bayazama ngazo zonke indlela ukuthi bephakamise ezomkhonomi but ngenxa yokuthi
Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services Deputy Minister Dr. Umphile Marupi reaffirmed the Second Republic's stance of being a friend to all and enemy to none.
What's important is to understand that these sanctions are not about one person.
they are about us all. And as a province, as a region in Matabele South, a mining region, we cannot actually bring in mining equipment because of these sanctions. And some people must actually know that these sanctions operate in a way that is meant to cripple the economy.
Among the dignitaries who attended the Anti-sanctions gala was the Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, Dr. Jennifer Muswere, Permanent Secretary Mr. Nick Mangwana, and the local ZANU PF leadership. Providence Maranelli, ZBC News, Esikotini.
Still in the arts, a Pungwe gala held at the ZITF grounds in Bulawayo this evening crowns the proceedings of the 21st ZANU PF National People's Conference, which came to a halt this Saturday. Here are some performances that are currently underway at the gala.
And still on a musical note, Sungura musician Alec Macheso claimed first position on the Radio Zimbabwe Top 20 chart show.
Alec Macheso's Richard Ahama seized the top spot, claiming the #1 position with an impressive 2,103 votes. Zingwe Hondo by Makungwazi dropped to second place from its previous #1 spot. Batamanjarine by Master H was on position 18. Varashe Mariga, ZBC News, Harare.
Bundu Boys founding member Rise Kagona, who died in Scotland last month, has been buried at the Warren Hill Cemetery.
Friends and relatives paid their last respects as they bid farewell to Bundu Boys founding member Rise Kagona, who was laid to rest at Warren Hill Cemetery this Saturday. The late Kagona has been described as a humble figure.
aingondibata songe ndingori mwana wako kagona saka ndarwadziwa nhasi ndikufara kuti ndaraundi finally azorora. Yeah, it's been a long month. Yeah, she needs, but now I'm happy kuti we've laid him rest.
Kagona's death has been met with an outpouring of tributes from fans and fellow musicians celebrating his enduring legacy in Zimbabwean music.
I was so much inspired ne group randakanzwa 1985 tiri vafudzi vemombe tichisanganisa majuti ekuenda kumombe nokuchikoro ozonzwa pamabva kumombe pamanga muchibayiwa neminzwa ozonzwa vamwe vane group ravo riri kutanga vachizviti tinonzi Bundu Boys.
The Bundu Boys are the biggest export music industry in Zimbabwe into the international world.
No Zimbabwe wakarizana na Madonna wakariza ku Wembley Stadium wakaita collaboration na Don Williams zvima collabs zvotombonembiri. Saka I think kutarisa history ye Bundu Boys is something chokuti towana ma lessons akawandisa.
The Bundu Boys was formed in the early 1980s and was fronted by the late Biggie Tembo. It is known for a number of hit songs, including the band's first single, Uneshua, and the famous Simbimbino and Bamnini Francis. Farai Gwaze, ZBC News, Harare.
A major loss for Zimbabwe's music industry. May his soul rest in peace. That caps up our news for tonight. Stay tuned for sport after this break. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 8. Thank you for staying with us. Now in sport, the Zimbabwe home-based Warriors have left the country for Francistown, Botswana, ahead of the African Nations Championship qualifier against Eswatini this Sunday. Let's get more in the following report.
The team, dominated by under-20 and under-23 players, flew out of the country earlier this Saturday. After missing the 2022 edition due to suspension, Zimbabwe returns to the Chan tournament with aspirations of improving on their best finish of 4th place in 2014. The team is under Warriors assistant coach Tekshua Chiragwi, who has selected a youthful squad.
From the youngsters, you see there's a lot of energy in them. And we hope to see giving their best, like the way they are doing now at training. You see they are doing a lot of things that you cannot, as a coach, you always look for those players to give you their best, and they are doing that. So for now, I think we are okay.
Zimbabwe boasts a strong head-to-head record against Eswatini with 3 wins and 2 draws in their previous encounters. The Warriors will be the designated home team for Sunday's encounter and will look to secure a favorable result before the return leg at Mbombela Stadium in Mpumalanga Province, South Africa next weekend. The match has been spiced up by the fact that Eswatini are under former Warriors coach Zidravgo Logarusich. The winner over the 2 legs will face Madagascar in the final qualifying round, with the ultimate prize being a spot at the Chan tournament in East Africa. The Chan tournament, held every 2 years, will be co-hosted by Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania next year. Anna Shemrombedzi, ZBC News, Harare.
The Zimbabwe Mighty Warriors are bracing for a huge fight to avoid elimination from the COSAFA Women's Championship when they take on Lesotho in their second and last group match at Madiba's Stadium in South Africa this Sunday. Let us hear more.
Zimbabwe's fate hangs in the balance after a 1-0 loss to Mozambique in their opening group stage. And good night.
Good night.
From the foothills of Lukenya, in Kenya, in the continent of Africa, we look at Africa and her future. We sometimes agonize because we were victimized through slavery. We sometimes agonize because we were victimized through colonization. We sometimes agonize because we are victimized by neo-colonization. But agony cannot continue forever. Organization is what is going to embolden us. So our young men and women, born and yet to be born, must be asking, what does the future hold? Now that God has given us the opportunity to look into the future and to see what it is, what do we expect Africa to be? I remember so very fondly in the 1950s and 1900s, Africa that will be respected in the world. You know, at a personal level, we must also have our own positions. What do we expect of our people? And as I sit here under the foothills of Lukenya, I look to Africa. I look to her from Cape to Cairo, I look to her from Addis Ababa to Dhaka. I look to her from Kinshasa to Tunis in Tunisia, and I ask myself, what are the promises that she makes to her sons and daughters? I look forward to an Africa whose resource, the greatest resource of Africa, is the human resource. I look to an Africa where her young men and women will be engaged in activities that will transform her dramatically, transform her in agriculture so that Africa will be able to produce the food that she consumes. I look to an Africa whose young men and women will be engaged in different institutions of learning, and they will be acquiring education that is appropriate for the development of the continent of Africa. I look to an Africa where our schools, whether it is Fura Bay in Sierra Leone, whether it is the University of Nsukka in Nigeria, or Legon in Ghana, or Nairobi in Kenya, or Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, or indeed Lusaka in Zambia, that the education that shall be given to our people will be an education that empowers them, that prepares them to interact with the rest of the world from a position of strength. I look to an Africa whose culture shall be given pride of place, whose films, whether they are recorded in Nigeria or in Nairobi, Kenya, or in Botswana or Nukchak in Mauritania, or indeed in Kinshasa, will be movies that speak to the culture of Africa. I look to an Africa whose resources shall be used for the benefit of the people of the continent of Africa, even as she trades with the rest of the world. I look to an Africa which shall have nuclear plants powered by the uranium to be found in Africa. I look to an Africa whose water resources shall be used, whether it's the Inga Dam or Kainji, will be used to generate electricity that shall power Africa, and all young Africans shall be able to see using power that is generated not only from water but from solar and from wind. I look to that Africa. But I look to another Africa, an Africa that will be trading amongst her people, an Africa whose people shall be moving without visas. I look to that Africa. I look to an Africa where I will wake up one morning in Windhoek in Namibia, and I travel to Maputo in Mozambique, and to Lilongwe in Malawi, and to Bangui in Central African Republic, and nobody asks me about a passport. I look forward to that Africa. I look to an Africa where there will be one currency, where I'll be moving with one currency from Khartoum in Sudan to Marrakesh in Morocco, to Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso, and to Niamey in the Niger, using only one currency. I look forward to that Africa. I look forward to yet another Africa, an Africa where there will be many languages as they ought to be celebrated, but one lingua franca. And that lingua franca we have already chosen, Kiswahili. I look forward to the day when Africa goes to the International Assembly. They shall no longer be speaking in foreign tongues. They'll speak in those tongues when they want to, but their medium of communication shall be the Kiswahili language. I look forward to that day, because that day is what is going to energize Africa in a totally different way. I look forward to an Africa where all these countries that have different embassies in the world will collapse them into a single embassy, so that if I have an African embassy in Moscow, in the Federation of Russia, or in Beijing in China, it will be an African embassy with different desks. I look forward to that day. I look forward to the day when no young African shall run away from the civil wars of Africa. I look forward to an Africa where the guns will be silent, an Africa where there will be no war in Cameroon, an Africa where there will be no war in Eastern Congo, an Africa where there will be no war in Bangui, an Africa where the guns will have gone silent, an Africa where there will be freedom of movement, an Africa where there will be no refugees. I look forward to an Africa where all the refugee camps will have been closed, where Africans will move within the continent of Africa without fear. I look to an Africa where our systems of governance will have changed. We'll no longer be using systems of governance that were inherited from our colonizers. I look forward to that Africa. I look forward to yet another Africa, an Africa which will embrace technology, an Africa which will interact with technology that is developed in Africa through the assistance of friends of goodwill. I look to an Africa which shall not longer be bound by the chains of the past, but an Africa that will be liberated by the winds of the future, so that when the world talks about artificial intelligence, we are not only consumers of that artificial intelligence, but we are the creators of artificial intelligence, and that we can interact with humanity in a manner that is positive. I look forward to an Africa where there is a single government, whether that government is located in Addis Ababa or Ethiopia or Bangui in Central African Republic, but an Africa whose policy and laws are governed from one source. I look forward to an Africa where the laws that we deploy to govern our affairs will be laws that are made for our benefit, laws that are made to guide our affairs, whether it is in the area of agriculture, whether it's in the area of health. I look forward to a healthy Africa where we are not victimized by Ebola, where we are not victimized by diseases which we cannot control. I look forward to an Africa which can make its medicine, an Africa whose pharmaceutical industries are alive and well, an Africa that uses her herbs, uses her flora, and uses her resources for the purpose of creating medicine that can be shared with the rest of the world. I look forward to that Africa. I look forward to an Africa where there is presence in the space age, so that she can compete with the world. I look forward to an Africa that is in control of our communication, so that we are not reliant on foreign communication systems. I look forward to an Africa whose relationship with the world is from a standpoint of mutual respect. I look forward to an Africa that is strong. I look forward to an Africa that has an army to defend herself, not little armies, but an army to defend herself, an army that will only want to guarantee peace, an army that is not going to provoke war, an army that exists for defense only, an army that interacts with the rest of the world from a position of mutual respect. I look forward to that Africa. I look forward to an Africa whose young men and women have role models who are modeled around Pan-Africanism. I look forward to an Africa which will respect Africans in the diaspora, whether they are in Australia, whether they are in Caribbean, whether they are in the United States of America, whether they are in Brazil. I look forward to all children of Africa, wherever they are, and they may remain there, but they have a spiritual interconnectedness with the continent of Africa, where they do not need visas to come into the continent of Africa. I look forward to the spirit of Pan-Africanism, and Pan-Africanism not only for romantic and sentimental reasons, but Pan-Africanism that says that we are going to use our human resources. We are going to use our intellectual firepower. We are going to use whatever we have, whatever nature has given us, for the sake and for the purpose of ensuring that Africa is standing tall amongst nations. I look forward to the regeneration of Africa, so that the things that she lost can be regained. I look forward to an Africa which embraces technology that will ensure that we grapple with modern day issues such as climate change. I look forward to the day when the continent of Africa will regenerate her desert so they shall become equatorial forests. It can be done. But most of all, I look forward to a generation of young Africans who, while investing in the present, are capable of saying with confidence that they can look to the future, and that future is promising. And that is why I have great faith in the saying of the Chewa of Malawi, that more important to us than our children are our children's children. That is why I find great wisdom in the words of Nigeria's Chinua Achebe when he poses the question, where are the young suckers that will grow when the old banana dies? I want us to nurture those young suckers that they can go into the world in the knowledge that being African is being a human being, respected and capable of achieving like all in the world. I look forward to an Africa that gives meaning to the many declarations that she has made over the years. And she has made many from the 1950s. She has promised herself through our institutions, specifically through Africa Agenda 2063, that she wants to be a great player in the world. I look forward to an Africa that will give practical meaning to those promises. I look forward to an Africa that is hopeful, an Africa that sees a light, which is the dawn of a new beginning. I look forward to an Africa that is capable of flying, soaring like the eagle. An Africa who, in the words of Ghana's James Eman Kweji Ragri, like the eagle, will soar and be able to fly in the knowledge that he or she, being African, is a creation that is respected and capable of engaging with the world. That African is the African that the world needs, because ultimately we are all part of one creation, and the strength of Africa is the strength of the world. Let us go forward in the knowledge that Africa has great promises. But we must remind ourselves that promising alone is not sufficient. We must roll up our sleeves and work, because work we must, because history has demonstrated not once, not twice, that those who seek never fail to find, even though difficulties may exist. It is in pursuing those difficult tasks that Africa will be great again. Great Africa, the world awaits you. The continent of Africa is the cradle of mankind. It gladdens my heart when I say goodbye in the knowledge that the mother continent will be well again. See you another time.
Coming up in this edition of Eye on SADC, the third Canada-Africa Business Conference underway in Zimbabwe. Tanzania, cherish work done by IT professionals. And Zimbabwe is set to host the Africa Conference of Legal Counsel. Greetings, my name is Raymond Thukutu and this is Eye on SADC. The third Canada-Africa Business Conference being held in Zimbabwe has seen several Canadian companies keen on investing in Zimbabwe in response to the Second Republic's policy to attract investments from across the world.
The third Canada-Africa Business Conference currently underway in Zimbabwe has seen several Canadian companies in various fields such as finance, mining, agriculture, energy, retail, and distribution showing interest in setting up projects in the country.
We're here to help Zimbabwe develop their natural resources. Very importantly, our technologies are all very low impact. Sometimes natural resource development results in damage to Mother Earth unnecessarily. People cut down trees, move dirt, dig up, drill holes, and there's nothing there. We have the tools to identify exact areas where there's potential.
Fundamentals are here, and I'm primarily interested in finance, farming, and housing. And so I think the biggest challenge, but also the biggest opportunity that we've got here on the continent, and Zimbabwe is a prime example, is how do we feed and house the next billion people here in Africa?
The potential is there. We are just finishing a project